My daughter started talking about Mr. Moogy on her 4th birthday. It was a warm, breezy afternoon in late spring, the kind of day that made you forget how hard the winter had been. We were over at my brother's house across the street from our little rental because he had a pool and I didn't. Melissa had never been in a pool before, and I was excited for her to have that experience. She was smiling, twirling, laughing, the kind of pure joy only a child can radiate. And then she tugged at my skirt. Just a soft little pull, but when I looked down, her hazel eyes were serious. "Mommy, Mr. Moogy wants to come home with us." I bent down to her level, brushing the wet curls away from her cheek. "Who's that, baby?" She looked around, scanning the party as if she expected to see him standing in the crowd. "He's my new friend." "I don't see him, though. He must have gone to grab his coat." I remember laughing softly. A coat? It was 80 degrees out. But I realized quickly what was happening. Melissa had her first imaginary friend. And as a young mom with a psychology minor I never finished, I knew this was normal, maybe even healthy. "Of course he can," I said, playing along. "Mr. Moogy is more than welcome in our home whenever he wants." And that was that. Or so I thought. The first week was innocent, sweet, even. Melissa would tell me about the games she and Mr. Moogy played, how he liked to stack blocks just so, or how he helped her draw her special dreams. Her drawings became more abstract, strange, looping symbols, long arms, jagged mouths, but I chalked it up to growing imagination. At night, she insisted on keeping her window open. "Mr. Moogy gets too hot when it's closed," she'd explain. A few times I woke up in the middle of the night to shut it, worried she'd catch a cold, but every morning it was open again. Always open. Sometimes I'd ask her where he was, and she'd smile, swinging her feet. "He went home for the day," or "He's walking around the block. He said he needed to stretch." Once, half joking, I asked, "Does Mr. Moogy not like me?" She looked offended. "Oh no, Mommy. He loves you a whole bunch. He just gets shy." It was sweet, in a strange way. That tenderness wouldn't last. Weeks passed, and Mr. Moogy's influence deepened. Melissa, once bubbly, curious, and sociable, began withdrawing. She didn't want to play with the neighborhood kids anymore. She'd sit in her room for hours, whispering to nothing. Her door would creak open and close at odd intervals, and I'd hear her talking softly, followed by long stretches of silence. She stopped drawing. Then she started again, but now it was only black marker. Harsh lines, faces with no eyes, figures standing outside windows. I kept them all in a folder. Part of me hoped to show them to a child therapist, but we couldn't afford one. After the divorce, things were tight. The apartment, the bills, the growing cost of raising a child, I was barely keeping us afloat. When I'd take her to the store, she'd complain. Clutch my hand too tightly. Refuse to look at people. "Mr. Moogy doesn't like the store," she'd whisper. "Why not?" She'd shudder. "Too much meat." The hell does that mean? The visits to her father stopped almost entirely. The last one ended in disaster. My ex-husband, Brian, called me not even 2 hours after I dropped her off, shouting over the phone, "I don't know what the hell she's doing, Mary, but she just ripped down all the curtains and smashed a lamp." I drove over immediately. When I picked her up, she clung to my side like her life depended on it. In the car, I asked her what happened. "I just wanted to stay with you," she whispered. "But why did you break things, baby?" Her answer was instant. Mr. Moogy said it was the only way. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I started to fear my own daughter. It's something no mother wants to admit, not even to herself. She'd never hurt me, never thrown things at me. But there was something wrong behind her eyes. Something watching. And I didn't think it was Melissa anymore. I tried to reason with myself. She was grieving. The divorce was hard. Kids go through phases. Imaginary friends are harmless. But I also stopped sleeping. I started putting a chair under my bedroom doorknob. And worst of all, I never confronted her about Mr. Moogy. I didn't dare. Then came the morning that changed everything. I woke up to find Melissa fully dressed. Neat jeans. Her favorite blue hoodie. Little tennis shoes perfectly tied. "What's the special occasion?" I asked, carefully. Softly. She smiled, a rare, real smile. "Mr. Moogy wants to play outside today." Outside. Finally. I told her I'd wash dishes so I could watch her from the kitchen window. She nodded. That was the last time I saw her alive. I only looked away for a few minutes. A plate slipped. Some soap in my eye. When I looked back, she was gone. Just gone. I ran outside, barefoot, screaming her name until my throat bled. The neighbors came. The police were called. A search party began within the hour. I searched every inch of the block with my brother. The woods, the creek, the old barn behind the school. Nothing. Days passed. Weeks. Her face was on the news, on flyers, on milk cartons. There were vigils, prayer circles, community meetings. I sat in my room at night, staring at that open bedroom window, wishing I had shut it one last time. Just once. Wishing I had never allowed that name, Mr. Moogy, into our home. 6 months. Then, at 2:37 a.m. on an unusually warm October night, the phone rang. A neighbor, miles away, called the police, reporting a man dragging something through his backyard. The police responded quickly. They caught him. An older man. Thin, gaunt, thinning hair, thick glasses. He was in the middle of digging a hole in a shallow part of the woods. And next to him, wrapped in a stained blanket, was my Melissa. They didn't let me see her. Not right away. Detective Lorenzo said it was better that way. That what had been done to her was beyond comprehension. He didn't use the word unrecognizable, but I knew that's what he meant. I was brought to the station later that same day. My brother, Alex, drove me. I don't remember the drive, just his hand on mine, squeezing so tightly I thought our bones might fuse together. We were brought into a viewing room with a pane of one-way glass. And there he was, him, the man who'd taken her. He sat hunched in the metal chair, hands cuffed to the table. His frame was lanky, almost malnourished. Pale, lips cracked. His expression was somewhere between dull and dazed. Like he was there, but not really. Like he was always just a few seconds behind. Detective Lorenzo asked, "Do you know this man?" I shook my head. No, never seen him in my life. Alex looked at me like I'd slapped him. "Mary, don't lie to them," he said. "What?" He turned, now confused and angry. "What are you talking about? That guy was in and out of your house for nearly a year." I blinked. "What the hell are you talking about?" He stared, mouth open slightly. You don't remember him? You waved to him once." "I saw it. Thought he was a family friend. Melissa talked about him like he lived there." "I've never seen that man before," I insisted. But my stomach dropped. Hard. "Mary," Lorenzo said slowly, pulling out a photo and sliding it across the metal table. It was him. The same man. The glasses, the crooked smile, the sunken cheeks. It was a driver's license photo this time. Beneath the picture, the name. Tomas Moony. I froze. I whispered, more to myself than anyone, "Moony." Lorenzo leaned forward. "What?" I said it again. "Moony. Mr. Moogy." He stared at me like he was waiting for the joke. But I wasn't joking. Moony. Moogy. There was no way. No way it was real. Mr. Moogy was imaginary. A product of my daughter's mind. A coping mechanism. A harmless friend. But now that face had a name. A record. A history. And somehow he had been in my house. With my daughter. For months. Without me ever seeing him. The neighborhood watch had installed security cameras years ago. Lorenzo showed me the footage. It was horrifying. Night after night, week after week, Tomas Moony crept into our home. Sometimes through the open bedroom window. Sometimes through the front door. Always in the dead of night. Always silent. Always careful. Melissa would greet him like a friend. He'd sit beside her on the bed. Read books. Talk softly. And when he left, she'd watch him go from the window. There were videos of him brushing her hair, hugging her, playing with her toys. I threw up in the interrogation room. Neighbors had seen him. All of them. He was spotted walking 20 paces behind us on evening strolls. Sitting near us at the park. Standing on the sidewalk across the street. When questioned, they all said the same thing. We thought he was a relative. We thought he was a friend. He looked so normal. I never once looked over my shoulder. They say the brain protects you from things it can't handle. That it edits reality, smooths out the edges of the unbearable. But I wasn't sure if this was repression or if something else had been at play. Because I should have seen him. There's no logical reason I wouldn't have. No way a man could be in my kitchen, my living room, my daughter's bedroom, and I didn't notice. Unless he wasn't hiding from me. He was invisible to me. Or maybe he made himself that way. Later, I asked Melissa's therapist, once I could finally afford one for myself, if such a thing was possible. A real person, passing through your life, unseen? She called it selective dissociation, a kind of trauma-induced blindness. It's rare, she said, But in cases of extreme denial or subconscious fear, the brain can block out specific faces, especially if they conflict with a deeply held belief, like the safety of one's home. But that explanation didn't sit right with me, because Melissa saw him. Everyone else saw him. Only I didn't. And when I think about those drawings, the eyeless faces, the long arms, the wide mouths, I wonder if Melissa ever really believed he was imaginary, or if she just thought I did. The court case was swift. Moony pled guilty to everything. They found dozens of photos, videos, journal entries. He wrote about her like she was his, a possession, a gift. In one entry, dated 2 weeks before she vanished, he wrote, "She's changing, becoming what I need. The mother doesn't interfere. She never sees me. She only sees the space I leave behind." I stopped reading after that. I moved, far away, left behind the house, the neighborhood, my job, my brother. Everything reminded me of her, of the laughter I lost, the window I never closed, the name I should have never welcomed into our lives. I still hear it sometimes, in my dreams, in the silence. Mr. Moogy wants to come home with us. They say trauma never really leaves. It just waits. Sometimes I'll walk down a new street, in a new city, and catch a glimpse of a figure behind me. A man, too thin, walking just a few steps behind. I'll turn and there'll be no one there. And sometimes I still leave the window cracked, just in case Melissa wants to come home.